What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 95 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. I'm your host, Zach Malama. Before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off in the world of baseball as both New York teams were in action this week. And we'll start things out west with the New York Mets as they took a trip to San Francisco for a three-game set against the San Francisco Giants. And this series overall was all New York as they really dominated things on the mound. Starters looked great. The bullpen looked great, and they end up sweeping the Giants, a team that they could maybe see later down the road in the postseason. The Giants really fell flat here, and their offense did not work well against the Mets pitching. Like I said, when you look at the starters, I mean, you'd start off in game one of this series. Clay Holmes just got out of trouble, couple of jams here and there, allowed 6 hits, but in 5 innings, he only allows the 1 earned run, 2 strikeouts, only 1 walk, and they really took advantage of Logan Webb on offense, the Mets did. 4 innings, 8 hits allowed, 6 earned runs for the Giants ace, and he did not look good in this one. Falls to 9-8 on the year. So the Mets grab an 8-1 win on Friday. Then you go to Saturday's game, and David Peterson on the mound going up against a fellow lefty starter in Robbie Ray. And the Mets really made Robbie Ray work in this game. Not an easy game for him. Ends up pitching pretty deep into this one. Goes 5 2/3, but the big blow was by Mark Vientos, who hits a 2-run double into left field to give the Mets a 2-1 lead after Jung-Hoo Lee hit a ground out, a fielder's choice ground out with an RBI that got a run in for the Giants. Edwin Diaz comes in for the save after he allows just 1 hit in this 9th inning, and he really locked things down after that. Really close as Jung-Hoo Lee gave him a bit of a scare, and a home run ball, a ball that would have been a home run in 29 of 30 ballparks, ends up staying in the yard, and lucky for the Mets, they end up getting the win as Edwin Diaz locked things down and struck out Matt Chapman to end the game on Sunday. As when you look at Sunday's game, a 5-3 win for the New York Mets on Sunday Night Baseball, and it came down to, once again, Mets pitching really, really good in this game, and their bullpen comes in and locked things down. Kodai Senga had a bit of trouble, ended up probably with the worst start of the 3 in those 3 games, allows 3 earned runs on 4 hits, goes 5 innings with just 3 strikeouts, but the 5 walks that he allowed were the real difference there. Bullpen comes in, really helps them out, and the Mets end up chipping away on offense, and it came down to Ronnie Mauricio hits an RBI double, and he gave the Mets a 2-1 lead. Matt Chapman responded with the home run off of Kodai Senga, but then it was Mauricio again. He hits a home run to McCovey Cove, into McCovey Cove, and then that's followed by Juan Soto a couple batters later to give the Mets a 4-3 lead as he homered to left, and Nimmo tacked on in the 9th. But the Mets really looked good in this series against the Giants. They, like I said, their offense was not wonderful in this one. They didn't really go above and beyond, but they did the job, and they really had to rely on their bullpen to help them out, and their starters really looked good. The pitching staff overall was the difference in this series. They get a tough series sweep on the road against a team, like I said, that they could see later down the road in the postseason. So the Mets end up sweeping the Giants, and they have a 7-game win streak that they bring to San Diego as they take on the San Diego Padres for a 3-game set at Petco Park in San Diego. And when you look at Monday's game, it already started, and Monday the Mets end up losing it in dramatic fashion as Elias Diaz walks it off with an RBI single in the bottom of the 9th, but that was not before the Mets tied it in the bottom of the 9th, and Ronnie Mauricio just continues to write a name for himself in this Mets team, and he's been really, really good since coming up from injury, since coming back from the minors. I mean, what a player he's been recently for this Mets team. Now 6 home runs on the year, and he ties it with a bomb to right center field, 415 feet off of Robert Suarez, one of the best closers in the game, and he really took him deep on that one. Mauricio looked really good, and he has looked really good recently, but the Mets were chipping away and then Mark Vientos hit a grand slam to give the Mets a 4-run lead in the 5th inning that they would end up letting go of. And I mean, it just came down to the Mets bullpen that I talked about it a moment ago was so good in that series against San Francisco, completely threw it away. And Huascar Brazoban just not his best outing. Frankie Montas ends up getting charged with 5 earned runs, and really only a couple of them that he was actually in the game for. Brazoban really imploded there in that 5th inning. In the bottom of the 5th, only goes 2/3 of an inning with 3 hits allowed, 1 earned run, with 1 walk and no strikeouts. 26 pitches it took him to get through that. Rico Garcia's looked really good for the Mets recently, and really only looked good for the Mets as he had that 1 bad outing for the Yankees. And Rico Garcia goes 2 innings to really lock things down, but the Mets just could not get enough on it. And Ronnie Mauricio's tying home run in the top of the 9th just did not do the job, as in the end, Gregory Soto, the new addition for the New York Mets, comes in and ends up giving up the winning single to Elias Diaz. Just left one over the plate, and he gets charged with the loss. Soto does. He goes 2/3 of an inning with 2 hits allowed and no earned runs and no walks and a strikeout. I mean, just in the end, it came down to his error. He has the 1 run allowed, but it was his error that really going off the mound and throwing it to Francisco Lindor just could not get the job done, and that left it 1st and 2nd with no outs. Tried to get out of trouble, almost did with a couple of good plays, but I mean, that was really the killer there for the Mets new reliever, and he goes down with the loss in this one. So the Mets lose it 7-6, snapping their 7-game winning streak, but then they head into another game against the Padres tonight. But they do have a really reliable man on the mound. It is Sean Manaea, who's coming into this game 1-1 this year with a 2.19 ERA, and the lefty will go up against a lineup in San Diego that really pumps it up against lefties. They've been really good in the month of July, highest average against lefty in all of baseball this month. The Padres do their lineup. I mean, when you look at Manaea, though, it's going to be a tough game, but you need your ace to really step up and be good on the mound for the Mets tonight. He's going up against pretty much a bullpen game here, as Ryan Bergert is going to go up against this Mets lineup. He's a righty for the San Diego Padres, 1-0 this year with a 2.84 ERA this season. So should be a win for the Mets. That's what you're looking for, but it's never easy down in San Diego, as the Mets have not won a series there since 2018. So we'll see what happens, but all of the discussions have been about the MLB trade deadline. Trade deadline taking place July 31st. That's Thursday at 6:00 p.m. Eastern time. All of the noise coming out of Metsland has been looking for another reliever. They already got one, a left-handed reliever in Gregory Soto that I mentioned a moment ago. But then you look at the rest of this pitching staff, and they need some help. They lost AJ Minter, probably replaced him with a guy like Soto, but they also lost a ton of arms in that bullpen, and they really need to clean things up there, especially when they really want to set things up for Edwin Diaz, Ryan Stanek, some of those other guys in the back end of that bullpen, really dealing with a lot of injuries. Max Kranick, Dedno Nunez are just some of the names that the Mets have lost so far this season. So that's really a talking point right now. They need to add another reliever. It's desperate, really, for the Mets to add that. And David Stearns has been known for finding some gems out of the bullpen. So really wouldn't put one past him, as we just really looked deep into that one. So they need a reliever, but they also have a lot of noise coming in about center field. The biggest name coming out for the New York Mets has been Luis Robert Jr. of the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, the Mets would have to give a pretty hefty package to the White Sox for Luis Robert, and that could include any of the names of Brett Baty, Ronnie Mauricio, Mark Vientos, or Luis Angel Acuna. Probably looks like the Mets are going to hold on Mark Vientos, who's been really good recently and some clutch home runs, especially with the grand slam yesterday. Probably going to hold on to him, even though he's been really the top name coming out of a lot of reports, especially from SNY's Andy Martino. When you look at the rest of the names, though, Acuna could be a trade piece. I don't think they're going to try and trade Ronnie Mauricio without he's been swinging the bat lately, and Brett Baty's been really good in the field for the Mets, really a stopgap piece to really hold things down at either second or third base. The big question, though, is Do the Mets really need a center fielder right now? In Robert, you get a real strong fielder, and obviously his bat has not been good this year, but he gets the home run yesterday against the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe an encouraging sign for them, but they're looking at a lineup right now with Tyrone Taylor being the starting center fielder. He's only batting 204 this year. Yes, he's been really, really impactful in the field for them, but 204 at the bottom of your lineup is just not good enough right now, and they could improve on that. Probably get a guy who's going to give them that power. 2 home runs this season. That's it for Tyrone Taylor. So Luis Robert Jr. would give them that power in center field. The question, though, will you give up one of those guys in Vientos, Acuna, Beatty, or Mauricio? It doesn't look likely. I mean, the Mets really right now look like they're fine at the bottom of their lineup, and that's only happened in the last couple of days or so that you've seen Mauricio playing third. You've also seen Vientos playing third. Mauricio, also a guy who can play second. Beatty is playing second and third. So you have the depth in the infield. The question, though, is Jeff McNeil at center field. Can he play center field every day? Probably not going to be the case, but you could rely on him a little bit more as a center fielder, and that bat in your lineup playing center field versus Tyrone Taylor, who's really, really struggled so far this season at the plate. You just need a little bit of power and a little bit of juice at the bottom of that lineup when it comes to that center field position. If I were the Mets, I would rely on Jeff McNeil to really be that go-to center fielder. I know that's not his everyday position and probably not where the Mets want to play him, but they have enough guys in the infield right now in Vientos, Beatty, and Mauricio that they could really rely on to just take the everyday positions there. That's really what it comes down to. They're going to have rest days for each of those guys, and if they need a guy in the field to step in for McNeil, of course, they still have Tyrone Taylor on the roster. So we'll see what happens, but obviously Luis Robert Jr. going to be the top name on Met fans' radars in the next couple of days as Thursday's trade deadline comes about, but they also need, like I said, that monster reliever to come out of the pen. Couple of names coming out as the days have gone on. Will the Mets pounce on them? David Stearns has a lot of work to do in the next couple of days. But let's shift things to the New York Yankees as they made some noise in the last week or so. They made one trade, and it came down to Ryan McMahon, who comes in as an infielder and a third baseman in this Yankees lineup. He comes in a trade with the Colorado Rockies. They gave away left-hand pitcher Griffin Herring and righty Josh Gross to the Rockies in exchange for the third baseman and Ryan McMahon. And McMahon's really played well so far. And talk about a spark in your lineup already. He's had a couple of games, already 3 games played when it comes to the series against Philadelphia, played Saturday and Sunday, and he also played on Monday. When you look at the stats, though, he's really had some clutch hits, and he gets 3 RBIs so far in his 3 games, and one of those was a 2-run double against Philadelphia on Sunday. When you look at the rest of the stat line, though, he's drawing walks, he's getting on base, he's just hitting the ball all around there, and that's what the Yankees need, just a contact guy. Get the job done with runners in scoring position. The Yankees have struggled, and obviously with the news that Aaron Judge is out for a couple of days now and going to be out for probably the next couple of weeks, they need a guy in Ryan McMahon at the bottom of the lineup to just give them a spark. And he's done that, fair enough, in the last couple of days and ends up getting another RBI yesterday against the Rays, but the Yankees end up losing that one. We'll get to that one in a little bit. But what you're looking for from McMahon, it's all about the field. If he can be that dominant third baseman in the field, which he has shown so far for the Yankees in this first 3 games, then you really have a successful buy for Brian Cashman and crew. You're looking at a guy in Oswald Peraza who's batting 147 this year, and you compare that to McMahon, who, did not have the best start to this season with Colorado, only batting 217. But when you look at McMahon overall, the real need was at third base, and fielding-wise, they really need to shore things up defensively after the couple of errors, really a mountain of errors that they've had recently. So they get the defensive man in Ryan McMahon, but then you look at the offensive side of things, and he does have some pop to him. He's had 16 home runs in Colorado so far this year. So when you're looking at that, he also has 5 seasons of 20 plus home runs. So you're looking at a guy that can give you the power in this lineup. That's all you need at the bottom right now, as you've had guys in Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells. I mean, just guys that their averages are so low compared to where you're expecting them to be, and you're not just getting that same power from those guys at the bottom of the lineup. So McMahon has been a pretty good buy so far for Brian Cashman and crew. We'll see how that goes as the weeks go on, but they definitely locked down one of the best third basemen in all of baseball when it comes to his glove. I mean, he has been terrific there with some really remarkable plays recently for the Yankees in his first couple of games. I talked about the Yankees really going down in that series against Philadelphia, a 3-game set against the Phillies in the Bronx, and this one came down to how bad the Yankees pitching was on Friday and Saturday. Just not good enough in the end. They allowed 12 runs to this Phillies offense, and yes, the offense that the Phillies bring is no slouch, and of course it came down to the long ball, something that really bites the Yankees on their own side and their side of the field. I mean, when you look at the Phillies in this game, Schwarber with 2 bombs. Real Muto hit a 3-run bomb that completely changed this game in the 7th inning. Yankees tried to chip away and kept it close, but Schwarber hits another bomb. They also chip away with some runs in the 9th inning, and Philly ends up winning it 12-5 to take the opening game of the 3-game set. And then you're thinking a bounce back from the Yankees on Saturday. Of course, the news that Aaron Judge would be out of the lineup, and he, of course, dealing with that flexor strain in his elbow. But the Yankees end up losing that one based on the pitching as well on Saturday. And Marcus Stroman gets charged with the loss. He's 2-2 on the year. He goes 3 2/3, 5 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, 4 strikeouts with 4 walks. And it just came down to the first couple of innings of this game. In the first 4 innings, all of a sudden the Yankees are down 4-0 and really just could not come back from that. Just the home run balls once again. Bryce Harper hits one this time, as Mundo Sosa also adds to the party of home runs. And really, Philly just took it to this Yankees pitching staff that's really not been good recently, and they allow some more runs to this Phillies team. And then it came to Sunday, and you're thinking just hope and pray that you don't get swept. And really, the Yankees could only ask for a win right now. That's all they needed just to really kickstart things, especially with some guys out of the lineup. They finally end up getting a win, and they do it against a tough pitcher. Zach Wheeler struggled in this one and really has been so solid this year. 16 of his 20 starts, I believe, coming in, he allowed 2 earned runs or less. I mean, the Yankees are now really taking it to the Phillies ace in 5 2/3, 5 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and 2 walks. But the 5 hits, 4 earned runs really hurt him in this one. And it was Ryan McMahon, I mentioned him before, with the big hit in the 2nd inning, a 2-run double that tied the game at 2. Wells hits a sacrifice fly. Grisham adds onto it, and then an Otto Kemp home run did not help the Phillies as they lose it 4-3. Carlos Rodon did not have his best stuff in this game. He had his strikeout stuff, which was positive for the Yankees, but he allows 3 solo home runs. And in the end, a couple bad pitches here, but you'll take that from Rodon. 3 solo home runs, no damage really done, and the Yankees end up putting up 4 runs. That's all you can ask for. Devin Williams comes in. He's really locked things down as a closer recently. Real positive sign for the Yankees, and he gets the 16th save of the season for New York. And the Yankees end up losing 2 out of 3 to Philadelphia after losing 2 out of 3 up in Toronto. So not really the greatest stretch right now coming out of the All-Star break for New York, but they look at the next series against the Tampa Bay Rays, and they take on the Rays on Monday. And it was a Cam Schlittler appearance once again, just not his best one in this one. 4 2/3, 7 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, and 4 walks. The 4 walks really hurt him, and it also hurt him that Junior Caminero, a guy that really was a big time in the home run derby just a week ago and really stepped up for this Tampa Bay Rays team so far this season, hits a 2-run home run in the top of the first. And yes, the Yankees ended up coming back, a couple of walks with the bases loaded to tie the game at 2, but those were their only runs of the day. Just 6 hits for this Yankees offense, and Schlittler ends up getting charged with the loss. He ends up letting up that RBI single to Lowe in the 5th inning, and that made it 3-2. They tack on with another sac fly to make it 4-2, and Drew Rasmussen ends up getting the win for Tampa. Pete Fairbanks, really one of the sought-after closers in this league. I don't think the Rays, with how their record is looking right now, 54-53, but still a shot at the wild card. Doesn't look like they're going to be dealing him anytime soon. He's just an electric guy out of the bullpen. Yes, got away with a couple of pitches there, with Austin Wells almost taking him deep and almost causing some trouble, causing some chaos in the bottom of the 9th. But they get out of it, and the Rays end up getting a big win on the road to snap a losing streak themselves, and they beat the Yankees 4-2 on Monday. But the rest of this 4-game set, takes place at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, and it all continues tonight, with Max Fried on the mound, a 7:05 start, as Fried will go up against Joe Boyle. Fried 11-4 this season with a 2.62 ERA. Just has not had his best stuff recently, and maybe that has to do with the blister on his hand, but the last couple of starts have not been good, as he's gotten charged with the loss to Chicago before the All-Star break, a 5-2 loss for the Yankees that he only pitched 3 innings, and that was the blister start. But then he also struggled against Toronto and really took it to the Yankees ace, and the Blue Jays lineup, gave him his 4th loss of the season. So he's looking for a bounce back here against a Tampa lineup that loves to play small ball. So he's going to really want to lock things down here. But he goes up against Joe Boyle, who's been good this year, 1-0 with a 1.42 ERA. And it looks like it's going to be a bullpen game in the end for the Tampa Bay Rays. So we'll see what happens. But make sure you tune in all series long, and it all continues tonight. 7:05 start as the Yankees take on the Rays at Yankee Stadium. But that will do it for episode 95 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malum. Thanks for watching, and talk to you all on Friday.